Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Cutlass Board Games channel. I want to talk to you today about what is the best Diablo 4 season so far, because we've had a couple of them. I've played a little bit in each of them, and I want to go through and have a look at what I think was the best one, some notes from what the previous seasons were like, and how I've kind of come to this thing. But before we get started, I think I should maybe give some context as to why my opinion is going to be the way that it is. Because I've played a lot of games in this genre. Diablo 2 was kind of where I kicked off. It's like probably the game that I sunk the most hours into as I was a young man. And what made those, specifically Diablo 2 and some of the other games, interesting was kind of the core of the game. What made it feel very different to a lot of other games was being able to like show up in an area, destroy a whole bunch of stuff, kill a whole bunch of things, and kind of like run through and clean, just like clear through everything. So in Diablo 2, the main kind of build that I played was Frost Orb. I felt like Frost Orb was some of the most fun stuff. And then the grinding point in Diablo 2 is that you would just hit stuff that's immune to cold, and then you're kind of useless. You just have to leave or run away, or like just not do that area or whatever. Which kind of sucked. It was a little awkward. But I felt like that was the funnest build, and I played through a whole bunch of other stuff. And then there's also a mod that I discovered called Scrabble. Shout out to Wolf. I believe that Scrabble is still possibly the best ARPG experience. Because its crafting system was just insane. And in pretty much every Diablo iteration, I've played Sorceress, with the exception of Scrabble, where I played Barbarian, because Barbarian had it's like called V formation, which is like throwing a knife, and it's very similar to Frost Orb, but it triggers on-hit effects, which made it very, very strong and really fun to kind of like run through and throw swords and kill stuff. But if you're following along, you might be getting to the point where you're understanding that the thing that I am enjoying about it is clearing mobs rather than like deleting the big boss and fighting the big boss. And some of that can be fine. Like I am happy grinding through a big fight if I'm able to like dodge all the things and like do a little bit of damage to it over time. And then ways like that. And then more modernly, I played Path of Exile, where the auto bomber was incredibly interesting to me, because basically you would just charge in and then everything would explode. And then this season of Diablo 4, I've built something kind of similar to that. You would just like literally teleport onto a spot of things and everything explodes, which I have been really enjoying. And then perhaps now is the time to go through each season. So starting with the current one, the latest season brought in two kind of major changes I think that make a difference. The first is the way that you optimize your gear. You can see with this one, I've got two little anvil icons on it where you can see extra suffixes or affixes, I think they call it, that you can add to your item. So this one's giving me extra Frost Nova cooldown and a lucky hit chance to freeze stuff. So I don't even have to hit it with a frost spell. I can just like drop onto it with the teleport. It has a chance to freeze. This has a chance to activate, automatically casting off Frost Nova. Everything explodes. And then I have the Shatter key passive, which just does tons of damage to basically everything, which is kind of insane. This is like a quick sneak peek at the skill tree. I'm not going to super go into this in detail because I don't think this is super really that interesting to most people. One of the other cool changes that I noticed, or maybe did not notice before, just now discovered, Frost Orb can automatically cast whenever you cast a non-basic skill. Also insane. The whole goal of this build is to do as much stuff for free as possible, and so this definitely fits right in there. And then Ice Shards enchantment does the same thing. Automatically casts Ice Shards for you when you freeze people. So I think this character has been very fun to play, but how I'm going to judge the best season I'll kind of get to in a second, where you'll be able to see kind of exactly how it's going to measure up against everything. So let me quickly come back to the main menu. 1 second. Alright. Now, my head is unfortunately in front of all the characters listed. Let me fix that. 1 sec. Oh no. Come on, don't be like this. Okay. Alright, now back at the login screen. This is where all of our characters are. And you can see I've saved kind of just all of the ones that I have from each season. I believe these first two are from the first season. It's like second, third, and then this one. And I think it is kind of interesting, right? So the first season was really good because you were just kind of forced to engage with the story, right? Like you played through the story was really good. You get to the end of it, and you're like, well, there's not that much to do actually. There wasn't really that much post-game content at the time. And so you can see that's why the levels of those characters are lower. I played through as a sorceress, and I played through the piercing shot. And this season's the first time I played Frost Sorceress. The other two previous ones are the like Arc Lash one where you're kind of attacking and then it conjures a bunch of stuff, which was just fine. It's not as good as the Frost one is, especially now. And so I think that's definitely colored my opinion a bit, and that's why I was playing so much Rogue in the middle. But season 1, really good story. None of the other seasons you kind of played the main story. I've been skipping through it every single time. Season 2, we get the vampire gimmick. And the vampire gimmick was really interesting because I'm not sure if I actually loaded the character, I'll be able to show you these things. I think it is gone. The vampire gimmick was very cool because you were kind of grinding upgrades for a character, and you could attach certain things and customize it that way. And introduced a lot of legendary skills that come up on gear that are still in the game. So like they introduced it and then it's like persisted ever since. So half of the stuff that's good about season 2 exists now still. Like you can still do it by having it on your gear rather than having the vampire upgrade track, which I think is fine. It's good to see the game grow and exist over time. But Vampire League is the one that I put the most time in because I made it to the highest level. I made it to level 91. And I'm going to talk about why the levels and stuff are in a second, but I'm going to finish through the list first. So yeah, and then Piercing Shot is the same kind of thing, right? I'm firing my one arrow, it conjures a bunch of split arrows, and then destroys everything. I really liked that about the split arrow. Same kind of thing, clearing a big crowd of mobs, not very good at killing bosses. And then the last season, the one after the Vampire one is the one that this armor is from, where everything was kind of about machines. You had a cool little spider companion, and the upgrade track that you had before with the vampire thing is basically translated into your spider companion, and the spider companion did stuff for you. Most of it was just damage. Some of it had some kind of cool utility, but it wasn't consistent enough to like really rely on it. The one that I ended up with was like destroy projectiles field that would just like come up and then destroy a bunch of stuff and then reset, which was pretty good. I thought it was pretty powerful. And a lot of the other stuff was just like kind of do damage or like pull enemies or like push enemies and stuff like that, which is kind of just fine. I don't specifically felt like I needed it at any time, which is a bit underwhelming, I guess. And then I still made it to 81. I think 81 is pretty good. And then this season, it's all about Helltide, and then the upgrade stuff that I showed before. Helltide is really interesting, but what I am going to be grading all these different seasons on is the drop-off point. Alright, that is why the levels of each of the things is super important, because I would get to a point and something would happen, or I would lose interest, or I would run out of things to do and I would bounce off. And the point of the season is to create as much content to keep me engaged with the game and keep me enjoying it and doing stuff, right? And so the first season, I think, had the most hours in it because it's just playing the story and you don't level up as fast. All the subsequent seasons, you do kind of start at level 0, but there's like the Ash system and stuff, which will allow you to get levels faster, and you're just kind of grinding through segments rather than story. So it's not like stopping and like doing dialogue and stuff like that. So it is a bit quicker, but it means that you get to a higher level than where you would normally. So I think season 1 good. I think season 1 as a season bad. Season 1 as like playing the game for the first time and experiencing the story good. Alright, it's kind of, and is not a good baseline for what the future season content should be. Season 2 with the vampire stuff, I think was very, very good. But there's 2 different types of kind of events to be following. There was something similar to the Helltide, but it was like specific to the vampire uprisings. I think the Helltide stuff is good. Is a good kind of designed thing, because it's not like a specific dungeon. You kind of recycles constantly, so you can move around and keep doing stuff for as long as the like timer is on, which is good. And then after that was the Artificer one, which was much more dungeons. I spent like way more time doing the vaults, I think they were called, like Vault of Ink and stuff like that, Vault of Copper. And the vaults being so much more dungeon heavy made it so much more formulaic. Like I just have to run the dungeons and stuff constantly. And then this one is all Helltide, and I haven't spent like really that much time at all farming for Glyph Dust like I have previously. Because getting Glyph Dust is one of the things I enjoyed quite a lot, actually. The way the upgrade track works and how you build out your stuff in the Paragon mode, I think is really good. And trying to make it work together is interesting. But this season had too much other stuff that there wasn't that much of a point to go and do the glyph stuff. Alright, I've made up a goofy tier listy looking thing here to hopefully help visualize a bit of what's going on. But I've loaded up the 4 different seasons that we talked about a little bit here. It maybe would have been good to compare it to some of the other games that I've played, but the overall existing experience of an entire completed game or in development game is going to be different to a single season of what's trying to be a live service game. Like the entirety of Diablo 2 or the LOD expansion content is going to be different from like a single season of D4. So whilst those things could have been really, really good, I'm trying to just compare these things to the different seasons, but I mentioned them earlier, so you kind of had an idea of what I had played, what I kind of thought was going on, and what I've enjoyed about other different games. But let's kick this off, easy one. Season 3 Machines. At the time, playing it, I was really excited and really enjoying it. And I, getting the pet and stuff, I was like, damn, this is sick. Super kind of excited about this. And then like as it drove on, and it kind of did fall flat. The vaults are just fine, but it's like a remix of the existing Glyph Dust farming dungeons that you're just kind of already doing, or the dungeons that you complete to unlock imprintable skills and stuff like that. So I didn't really feel that fresh or exciting. And the problem with some of those dungeons is that it'll spawn Butcher, and Butcher just shows up and kills you. That's all he does. He doesn't really do anything else. And the time spent fighting him is never worth the reward. So it's, what's the point? This is one of the problems that Season 1 had as well, where if you were trying to do the glyph dusting farming stuff as what was really the end-game content, it just like constantly had this frustration barrier. So Machines is possibly the worst one in B tier. I'm probably not going to be using C and D. I'm too much of a gas up the homies type. But I think Machines is possibly the worst one. Next up is Hell Tides, which is the current season that we're in. I haven't finished, like I haven't fully bounced off and stopped playing. I'm feeling myself slowing down because I feel like I've done what's to be done in Hell Tides. I kind of explored a lot of it and seen what's going on. And I don't know that there's going to be so much crazy extra to get out of in upgrading my equipment and stuff like that. I hope that is an innovation that we keep forever. Like all the seasons coming, we'll still have these things in the same way that Vampires added a bunch of imprintables. I'm hoping that happens. Machines, as far as I can tell, has not added any future content. Like nothing has persisted like that. Which is a little bit lame, but Hell Tides I think is an easy A. It could be S, but I feel like it making you focus so much on the Hell Tides. Some of the other existing late game content was just kind of, I felt like I ignored it. I didn't do any real world events. I did one. I was like, well, okay, I'm gonna go back to doing the thing I actually care about now. It didn't feel like it worked together. Like I didn't necessarily feel like that was an activity that mattered to me because I wanted to grind the Iron Wolves reputation chart. Something that I think was done just okay. I'm not even finished. I'm level 80 and I'm 70% of the way done. And pretty much the only content I've done is Helltide. So I can't tell if that's like, oh, there's a lot there, or oh, this was everything, and they were kind of hoping that was all I was going to do. Which is a bit of a letdown. Season 2, Vampires, did the reputation board, I just think, better. But it also had like a really good kind of a side story thing, and the character upgrade stuff made it feel really fresh and different from Season 1. Whereas Helltides, I think, the item upgrade system, I think it just should be like that forever. I don't think that should be anything special to this season. Whereas the Vampires upgrade thing was really special to the season, was unique and different. So I think Season 2 and Season 1 release gets an S just because of actually playing through the story. None of the other seasons there's any reason to play through the actual story of the game. Otherwise, on itself, it's probably like the worst one because there's like actually no season content in it at all. But yeah, I think Season 2 Vampires is easily the best one. I think Season 4 Helltides is good, and I think Machines is possibly the worst one. But that's just kind of from what I've been doing, what I've been playing, and the kind of characters that I like to play, and how they've engineered them to work in the game. And I thought it was kind of interesting to talk about because a single player profile type experience of the game isn't always all encompassing of, like this is an opinion, right? And this opinion is based on the one thing that I find to enjoy in these games, which is my character running through, being able to clear out stuff really quickly and, kind of destroy other minions and stuff like that. And then like not really fight bosses as much as possible, just like a little bit, maybe at the end of the dungeon. That's kind of it. And that's kind of want to like grind all the materials and stuff along the way and solve the puzzles of the dungeon and move to the end, which is only some of the game, right? It's not intended for exactly just that. There'll be other player types that look for a different specific experience of the game. Like I've never done any PvP. I've never bothered. And there'll be other people that are like, yeah, this is exactly why I'm here. This is the thing that I want to do. And creating something that will benefit that player archetype and all the other different player archetypes, that as many different people can enjoy your product. But I think it is interesting being able to look at and analyze why my one in particular has the outcome that it is, like why these things worked really well for me, and how that could potentially contribute to the whole. And I kind of like doing think pieces like this. So if you thought this was interesting, if you completely disagree with me, I want to hear why. Don't just say I'm wrong. Tell me what was the things that made the other ones better or worse than what I thought, because I'm curious to know. The point is to learn about what they made the game good, so that if we are making games, we can learn from their successes and learn from their failures as well. But if you're this far into the video, you might as well hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and go and check something else out. I've got a whole bunch of weird different collection of stuff on this channel. Who knows what I'm working on these days.